Hi and welcome to Pebbles channel. So we are learning about the different continents, countries and the cultures, religion, language, etc. about all the different countries. So I hope you are enjoying it so far because you are gaining a lot of knowledge about the world. It might be just 1 or 2 points about each country, but when you look at it collectively, you have learned a lot. So far we have learned about 2 continents. So we have learned about South America and Africa. So we were in the southern side first, and then we learned about the continent that is located right in the middle. So which continent are we going to learn about next? So the next continent is Europe. You can learn about it in any order. I have just chosen some random order here. So now the continent of Europe. So I will be giving you some basic things like the names of the countries, their capitals, and some general information about some of the countries. So if you want to learn about it in detail, well, you have a lot of resources where you can do so. So it is always good to have some basic knowledge, especially when you are traveling to another country. There might be some things that are normal for them but will be quite different for you. So it is always better to know about the country and their culture in advance, so it won't take you by surprise. So are you ready to begin learning about this continent? So first, look at the map. Where is it located? So you can locate it right here. What are the things that are surrounding it? The countries or the land mass or the water bodies. See, this portion here is Europe. So on this side, on the west, we have, yes, the Atlantic Ocean, the North Atlantic Ocean to be more specific. Then in the south, we have the continent of Africa. So we have already learnt about this continent. So that continent lies below. To the east, you see, this is the continent of Asia. Actually, if you see here, this is one huge land mass. If you look at the other continents we learned so far, see, South America and Africa, they are separated by an ocean in between. So that separates them. However, if you look at this huge land mass here, it looks like one single continent, right? So this land mass here is what we call a supercontinent. It's called Eurasia, the Eurasian land mass. So why is it called Eurasia? See, this continent is Europe and this is Asia. So the Eurasian land mass. And technically there is no separation here, right? The other continents have the natural separation with water bodies. The oceans separate them. However, here we do not have a technical separation. So that is something you need to know. So now we are going to learn about this continent right now. See, it encompasses all these countries and a part of Russia as well. So this can be one huge confusion. So the country Russia belongs to which continent? The answer is a part of it belongs to Asia and a part belongs to Europe. So that is an interesting fact about Russia. So shall we learn about Europe now? So first of all, it is the second smallest continent. So far we have learned the largest, the second largest, etc. But Europe is the second smallest continent, which means there is just one continent that is smaller than Europe. So it's quite a small continent. So it could be described as a large peninsula. See the word here, peninsula. So what do you mean by the word peninsula? So to understand this, what is an island? So an island, you define it as a landmass surrounded by water on all four sides, right? Once again, how would you define an island? It is a landmass that is surrounded by water on all four sides. A peninsula is something similar. However, a peninsula is a landmass that is surrounded by water on three sides, which means on one side there is land, the other three sides are water. So this will give you an idea. In our country, India, we have a peninsula here. See, there is water on three sides and land on one side. So we call it the Indian Peninsula. So similarly, see the continent of Europe. So there is water on three sides. See, in the north we have the ocean here, the ocean here as well, and here we have the Mediterranean Sea. Whereas on the east we have the continent of Asia. So it fits our definition. So it is filled with water on three sides and land on one side. So what do we know so far? It is the second smallest continent and it is a large peninsula or a subcontinent. So why are they calling it a subcontinent? So like I told you, a subcontinent is a part of a continent. Since these two masses are not technically separated, sometimes we call it a subcontinent. Moving on, Europe is the western portion of the Eurasian landmass. So I told you how this term is defined. See, Europe and Asia form one huge landmass. So Europe is on the western part. So see, this is the Eurasian landmass. The western part of it is Europe, and it is located entirely in the northern hemisphere. So like I told you, we have latitudes and longitudes. So the latitude, the equator, divides the globe into two hemispheres. So the northern and the southern hemisphere. This continent of Europe lies entirely in the northern hemisphere. So there is no part of it below the equator. So that is what they mean. Then Europe borders on two. So we are going to learn about the borders. Looking at the map, you will probably be able to say that, see, the Arctic Ocean in the north. Can you spot it? It's right here. The Arctic Ocean in the north. The next one, the Atlantic Ocean in the west. So we were more specific. It is the North Atlantic Ocean because this continent lies entirely in the north. So the North Atlantic Ocean on the west, and then the Mediterranean Sea to the south. So this word can be quite large. It is the Mediterranean Sea. So where is the Mediterranean Sea here on the map? Yes, it is right here to the south. So it is the Mediterranean Sea that is separating Europe from Africa. So once again, what are the borders of Europe? We have the Arctic Ocean in the north, the Atlantic Ocean in the west, the Mediterranean Sea in the south, and to the east it is a part of the Eurasian landmass. So that is how we locate Europe. Moving to the next one, how many countries are here? So there are a total of 50 countries. So how many countries are there in Europe? There are 50 countries with a total of more than 748 million people. So that is the population approximately. And then The European part of Russia. So, like I told you, a special feature about the country of Russia. So, as we have already learned, Russia is the largest country in the world by land mass. So, this huge country, which continent does it belong to? So, it is shared by two continents, Asia and Europe. So, when you are in Russia, you can either be in the Asian part or in the European part. So, the European part of Russia covers more area than any other country. See, the country itself is huge. The European part alone covers more landmass than any other country here. If you look at the map, you will be able to say, see, most of the countries are all small by land mass. So that is what you will be able to say by looking at the map. So all these countries, that is these different shades, right? Each of those shades is one country. So all these countries are small by land mass. So if there's even 1/3 of Russia here, that is going to look quite large compared to the rest of the countries. So that is what they mean here. The European part covers more landmass than any of these countries together. And then the three largest countries are, yes, you would have guessed, Russia, that is first, and then Ukraine and France. So what are the three largest countries in Europe? Russia, Ukraine and France. The largest capital city, once again, in Russia. So which is the capital city of Russia? It is Moscow. So the capital is also located here. Then the Vatican City. So you all must have heard about the Vatican City. That is the smallest country not only in Europe but also in the whole world. So there are a lot of superlatives here, right? The smallest country in the world is the Vatican City, which is located in Europe. So where is the Vatican City located here? So try and find out. So here I'll probably show you, but you might not be able to see. So Vatican City is the smallest country in the world. Which is the largest country? Yes, it is Russia, and part of this country lies in this continent as well. So it's very interesting to remember the largest country, Russia, and the smallest country, the Vatican City, are within this continent. Then the biggest island on the European continent is Great Britain. So Great Britain or UK. So UK stands for the United Kingdom. So this is Europe. The largest island here would be this, which is the United Kingdom. So the largest island in Europe is the United Kingdom. So what have we learnt about Europe so far? It is the second smallest country in the world. It is a large peninsula, that is, it has water on three sides and land on one side. And then the western portion, that is, it is the western portion of the Eurasian landmass. What is the Eurasian landmass? See, Europe and Asia together. This part of it is Europe and this part is Asia. So the Eurasian landmass. The western part is what is Europe. And then the borders are the Arctic Ocean to the north, the Atlantic Ocean to the west, the Mediterranean Sea to the south, and to the east, as we all know, the Asian continent. There are 50 countries here, and which are the three largest countries? They are Russia, Ukraine and France. And the largest country in the world, which is Russia, has a part of it in Europe. The world's smallest country, which is the Vatican City, is also located in Europe. And which is the largest island here? It is the United Kingdom or Great Britain.
Pebbles CBSE Board Syllabus.